What if I told you that Rome, the mightiest empire the world had ever seen, wasn't brought down by invading barbarians, but by its own money, because before the legions fell, before the emperors were overthrown, Rome quietly rotted from the inside out, one coin at a time. Today, we're uncovering how the world's greatest superpower destroyed itself not through war or plague, but through financial corruption, inflation, and greed that feels eerily familiar today. Setting the stage, the roots of Roman wealth. To understand how Rome's money destroyed it, we first have to understand what made Rome rich in the first place. In the beginning, Rome's power didn't come from gold, it came from discipline. Soldiers were loyal, taxes were modest, and every coin was backed by real silver. The Roman denarius, the coin of the empire, was so stable, so trusted, that it became the dollar of the ancient world. Merchants across continents accepted it without question. It represented trust, stability, empire. But as Rome expanded, its economy transformed, and so did its priorities. Conquest became the main source of income. Every new province meant new plunder, new slaves, and new taxes. For centuries this worked, but hidden in that success was a fatal flaw. Rome's wealth wasn't being created, it was being taken. And once the empire stopped expanding, that endless stream of money started to dry up. The origins of decline: greed, luxury, and inflation. As the empire reached its peak under Augustus and the early Caesars, money began to lose its meaning. The elite grew fabulously wealthy, estates stretched for miles, villas overflowed with luxury, and gold poured into private treasuries. Meanwhile, ordinary Romans, the citizens who once fought for the Republic, sank into debt. The government faced a problem. How do you pay for a massive army, endless wars, and public spectacles, when your income depends on conquest, and conquest is stopped? Their solution: print more money. Well, not printing. In the modern sense, Rome minted its money in silver, but when the treasury ran short, emperors began quietly reducing the silver content of the coins. The denarius, that once contained nearly 100% silver, was slowly debased, first to 90%, then 80%, then 70%. By the time of Emperor Caracalla, it was barely 50%, and by the 3rd century, it contained less than 5% real silver. To the naked eye, the coins looked the same, but the markets noticed. Prices soared, trust vanished, and inflation, something the ancient world had never seen before, began to consume the empire. The rise of financial corruption and social collapse. As money lost value, corruption became the only way to stay rich. Government officials demanded bribes to keep their incomes ahead of inflation. The army, once loyal to Rome, now pledged loyalty to whoever could pay them in gold. Soldiers assassinated emperors, auctioned off the throne, and installed whoever promised higher wages. In 193 AD, after Emperor Pertinax was murdered, the Praetorian Guard literally sold the Roman Empire to the highest bidder. Didius Julianus won not because he was noble or skilled, but because he offered more money. Rome, the empire built on discipline, had become an empire for sale. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens suffered. Farmers abandoned their land because taxes were too high. Small businesses collapsed as prices spiraled out of control. And the once thriving middle class, the heart of Roman stability, vanished. Rome had replaced productivity with plunder, and when the plunder stopped, its entire economy began to suffocate. The breaking point: the economic crisis of the 3rd century. By the 3rd century AD, the system was falling apart. The empire faced constant invasions, civil wars, and economic breakdown. Emperors came and went so fast that coins were being minted with faces of rulers who were already dead. And every new emperor needed to buy loyalty from soldiers, senators, and citizens alike. How did they pay for it? By minting even more worthless coins. Inflation exploded. Prices rose so fast that Roman citizens stopped using money altogether and returned to bartering. Trade collapsed. Food shortages became normal. It's said that by 301 AD, a single pound of gold cost over 1 billion denarii, and that's not hyperbole. Historians like Diocletian himself recorded this in official edicts. This wasn't just an economic crisis, it was a collapse of trust. When people no longer believed in the value of money, they no longer believed in the empire itself. The failed fixes: Diocletian's price controls, and Constantine's gold. Emperor Diocletian tried to stop the bleeding. He introduced one of history's first massive economic regulations, the Edict on Maximum Prices. He set limits on the price of thousands of goods, from bread and meat to clothes and labor, and made it illegal to charge more. The result? Disaster. Merchants stopped selling because they couldn't make a profit. Black markets exploded, inflation continued but now underground. Desperate, Diocletian created new forms of taxation, including taxes payable only in goods, not in money. In other words, the empire's money had become so worthless that even the government refused to accept it. Then came Constantine, who tried a different approach. Around 312 AD, he introduced a new gold coin, the Solidus, carefully minted to restore trust. And it worked, at least temporarily. The Solidus became a stable currency and survived for centuries in the Eastern Roman Empire. But by then, the Western Empire was already too far gone. The economy had hollowed out. Cities depopulated, trade routes dried up, and when the Goths and Vandals finally came, Rome could no longer afford to defend itself literally. By 476 AD, the empire that had once ruled the known world fell not because of swords, but because its economy had already bled to death. Modern parallels history repeats itself. It's tempting to think this story belongs to ancient history, that we're smarter now, safer, more advanced. But look around. In the last century, global currencies have shifted from gold back to fiat money, just like Rome's Denarius. Central banks print trillions at the click of a button. Inflation, once a textbook concern, is now a daily headline. Between 2020 and 2022 alone, the U.S. money supply increased by nearly 40%, the largest jump in modern history. We've seen housing bubbles, asset bubbles, and rising inequality as wealth concentrates at the top, just like Rome's elites hoarded gold while citizens struggled. Even the political effects feel familiar. Polarization, distrust in institutions, and governments buying loyalty with spending instead of discipline. And like Rome, we're addicted to growth no matter the cost. Rome expanded through conquest, we expand through debt. Both systems depend on taking more than they create. The parallels aren't perfect, but they're haunting, because Rome didn't fall overnight. It eroded slowly, quietly, while most people kept living as if nothing was wrong. Until one day, the coins in their hands were worth nothing, and the empire that had lasted 1,000 years was gone. 3 takeaways lessons from Rome's financial collapse. First, money is trust. Once people stop believing that their currency holds value, everything built on it, markets, laws, armies, governments, begins to crumble. Second, you can't inflate your way out of reality. Rome thought it could solve its problems by minting more coins. We think we can print our way through crises, but money without real productivity always collapses. Third, wealth without discipline destroys nations. Rome's citizens went from self-reliant farmers and soldiers to entitled consumers living off state handouts. The same mindset, expecting endless prosperity without effort, always ends the same way. Final warning, the echo of Empire Rome didn't know it was collapsing. Most people in the empire believed they were living in normal times. The decline was so gradual that it felt invisible until it wasn't, and maybe that's the real danger today. Economic collapse never announces itself. It builds quietly through debt, through inflation, through loss of faith. If money destroyed Rome, it's worth asking, could it destroy us too? Call to action. If you found this story eye-opening, don't let it end here. Subscribe to The Financial Historian, where we uncover the hidden economic forces that have shaped, and continue to shape, the rise and fall of civilizations. Because history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And those who understand the rhythm can see what's coming next.